So hello everyone and welcome to this top secret location here at the Volkstheater. Congratulations on being one of these selected members to take part in today's panel. My name is Sarah. I am the team lead for the online magazine here at TEDxVienna. And today you will be taking part in an interactive discussion on leadership, which will be led by two leading members from Dynatrace. So without further ado, I will introduce our panelists. First, we have Vincent Stuger, who is the Vice President of Engineering and Organizational Strategy. And then we have Eva Maria Meyer, who is the Director of Research and Development, Employer Branding, and Communication.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry that it took so long for a couple of you. So we will do something totally different than the morning sessions that you most likely had until today. On purpose, we actually want to only give you kind of our key lessons learned and then open up and do a dialogue with all of you. So we really invite you to share your experiences, to ask questions, to use this very intimate round that we are today to actually get the most out for all of you. Yeah, and I would say we now kick it off. I would love to introduce Vincent Stuger a little more in detail, because I think it's for you also interesting to hear a little bit of the background stories, that you know whom you're actually listening to. So Vincent is basically not only, as Sarah mentioned, like the VP of software engineering, focusing on organizational scaling and development. That means in Dynatrace that he's currently responsible for setting up a framework or developing a framework that our company, that is now 1.5K engineers, can grow towards the 3.5K engineers. That would be impressive enough, but no, in his career he started basically in product development, then was very early, so with the age of 32 already CTO of a software product company, and grew that also on a global level with a lot of merger and acquisition. And we will hear a story about that in a couple of minutes. Yeah, and besides that, he then founded his own consultancy and again supported global corporates in transformation processes and how organization actually can scale. And I think that's from the CV maybe the most important, but the thing that I am personally most fascinated about is that he always took the time to actually mentor people around him and young leaders. Yeah, so big round of applause for Vincent.
Thank you, Eva, for the nice words. So, to introduce you, I thought what would be a good introduction. So Eva in 3 words would be passionate, caring, and super curious. But what I really liked a lot on Eva was always that she is so eager to change the world, make it a better place, and always puts the people in center. At Dynatrace, she is responsible for the global employer branding team. And she basically started 5 years ago as a one-woman show with this topic in a 250-person R&D department at that time, and wasn't only growing the team to 20 now, internationally, globally set up, and it's really a great team, and I would consider it as one of the most innovative teams that I have seen around Europe. And she was a major success factor to the growth from 250 people up to the 1,500 engineers we are currently. So big round of applause for Eva.
Yeah, perfect. So now that you know us a little better, I actually want to start with, while we were prepping this session, we had a long discussion on how leadership and on the rise are actually connected, and we truly believe that we as a civilization are actually ahead of or facing some of the biggest challenges, maybe even in history, and it definitely will need the strong leaders to actually get us through that. But on the other hand, we were discussing, is it really always the big changes and these huge challenges that we actually need these leaders for? Or is it not also the small things?
Yes, and in our discussions, what we really came up is that we are big believers that leadership is not something you do when you enter the company and from 9 to 5 you're a leader and then you leave. Nor is it something that comes with a job, a VP or whatever type of title. So it's really something that everyone is every day. And why we believe this, in brief, would be that if you take it like to the very basic of what leadership is, it's actually the constant process of how you relate to people and how you influence your social network. And by social network, I mean really every network, everyone. This includes your spouse, this includes your kids, this includes your friends, and last but not least, it includes somebody that is always with you. It includes yourself. So it's also key that you lead yourself through all of this.
And I think when Vincent first introduced this thought to me, I was super skeptical because I thought, like, is he really right? Is it really like, am I a leader, or do I get let out of work, or is it just my position? And then I actually kept thinking about it, and I thought, like, no, not really. Is it really the case? But I somehow want to share an example with you that is very personal. So in the last year, I basically totally changed my life. So I think the only constant that stayed with me was my job. Basically, I moved cities, I changed my entire social environment. And what I realized when reflecting on that is, without my best friends, but also my family leading me through conversations, but also guiding me, this would not have really made me possible through this change. So them leading me also in a private context made me realize that yes, it's true. It's also true for me, and that I'm a real believer that every one of us is a leader in every context, not only in the job context. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a key message for us that we came up is that leadership with this definition is something that is always bi-directional. And so it's not one leading, but it's always bi-directional. And the best example for me, I'm a father of 2 daughters, and honestly they teach me the most difficult but the biggest leadership challenges in my life. So it was really a big teaching. And for me, that's a great example. Actually, for those of you who have kids or can relate to, the question is always, do you lead your kids or do they lead you? I mean, it's just one of those perfect examples of bi-directional leadership. And for me, one of those stories from private life that I want to share was always in a situation, just imagine a situation, you're in a new city, super crowded, you need to leave the underground, you don't know where to go, one left, one right. So you have to stay calm. You have to stay really calm. You have to stay confident and walk out with your kids, because it doesn't help if you freak out. So it's a perfect example of a leadership situation. And taking that thought further, if you take the whole leadership literature, there's so many books, hundreds or even thousands of books about the content of leadership. So how do you create the strategy? How do you build the best product? How do you set the vision? There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's very important, and this is super great know-how that you can have. But on the other hand, it's this foundation, this how you relate to, that is really a very key part. And our belief, and also the learning from Dynatrace, is that this is something that is absolutely critical once you come to a very flat, agile type of organization, which is basically very much network-based. And there, this relationship part, this actually how do you influence in this network, because there are no hierarchies, there are no that of those lines, is a core part and a core skill. And luckily there are also books about this, but this is what we really want to share with you and have a discussion with you afterwards.
And I can't agree more. I think what is important, and I want to share with you, because I think that's my lessons learned now out of 4 years in leadership and 5 years in Dynatrace, is that when I built and scaled the team, there were 2 major things that I wanted to basically implement in this team and base it on. And the one thing was trust. So I think without the trusted environment, you basically will not be able to build a functioning team, especially in a very fast-paced, hyperscale environment. And the second thing was treating people on eye level. So I think those 2 were basically the things that I was focusing on when scaling, like from, as Vincent said, then 2 people to now over 20. And I think this only works if we bring our whole selves to work. If it's not something where we put our leadership role on and then we enter the office building or now the first Zoom call, but actually that we showcase by bringing ourselves that as leaders, that it's normal that there are awesome days and there are bad days and that there is actually failure on the way, but there is also curiosity that you actually need to bring. And I want to share one very recent example that was so taking for me, because every half a year I actually gathered my very internationally spread team together, and there was one session that we planned that was called My Highlight, and it actually is about sharing the last month's highlight. And this is a group now of 20 people, as I mentioned, and a couple of those people decided on not sharing a project that they were successful in, but they actually shared their very, very personal struggles. And not only they shared the struggles with this entire team, but they also reflected and created a lesson learned for all the others out of that. And seeing that those people actually bring their entire self and being confident enough to share it in this still business context was for me the highest level of trust that you could get. Yeah, so that's one. And the second one that I want to share with you is basically one that I learned from Vincent. Focus moves energy. And this was also one that I just was grasping in, and I thought focus moves energy, clearly. But if you really dig deeper and try to understand what this means and what responsibility it actually means for you as a leader, if you know that the focus that you put on topics actually moves the energy of your entire team. I mean, we all do, and I guess you all are in this business context quite aware. We have our roadmap plannings, we have our quarterly, yearly plannings, and we think the focus is so clear there. But I think it's way more the focus that we as leaders put on topics. And if we lose this focus, eventually the energy starts spreading. And then I again want to share an example, because this is basically one of the things that I'm personally struggling most with. It's the one thing when you get this awkward feeling of, oh my God, I'm falling behind. I have too little resources in the team. And I think it's then this going the step back and actually reflecting on, is my energy, is my focus basically on the topics that we want to get done, or is it kind of already all across the room, and that's why my people, my team is basically also not focused enough. And yeah, I think that were my two examples.
And I want to take it from there, because for me, as Eva mentioned, this simple sentence, focus moves energy, is a very, very strong one. And it's something, if you're aware of it, that you can super easily apply. Because basically it means where you as a leader focus to, the whole people will look at you. Because you, a leader, are a person where people look at you. So what you are doing, how you are behaving, others just do the same. And so basically by just focusing, you already start moving the energy and start moving and influencing people. So you should be aware of that. If you take a look at nitty-gritty details, start micromanaging, guess what happens? The people will take a look at nitty-gritty details and will look at execution details. If you switch your focus and widen your focus and let the energy flow and focus more on vision, driving strategy, guess what people will do? They will look at you, they will look at your vision, and they will change your behavior. And this is really true for every tiny detail things. So you can take it also to private life. So wherever you focus on, others that follow you, that take care of you, will focus their energy too. So I have picked one example, and maybe when we open the dialogue, I'm super happy to share more. But that was for me one that stayed so much in mind when I was just a young CTO in a situation where we acquired basically a competitor of a similar size, meaning, okay, two products doing the same thing, so you need to basically get one retired, but wanting to keep all the people and not really knowing how to do it. The first time in an M&A situation, the first time in a post-merger integration situation. So how would you do it? Is it actually the right decision to go one or the other direction? And what I say is, I think the key thing is stay in that moment, stay in that situation, don't run away. when you are in such a situation, and be confident and go there with the team. Instill the trust. We had already the word trust, and this was what I was doing. I was going in that meeting, staying at that moment, saying, hey, we are in this together, bringing those teams together. And it was also on an emotional level. I think the most tense situations that I had, it was senior engineers crying at the meetings because they knew that they had to give up their baby. But the good outcome was through lots of iterations where we decided and went through that, but always staying in, keeping the people in, keeping them focused, also saying, hey, we have to get to an outcome, we have to get to a way forward, and leading them through that situation. I think ultimately and this is really something I'm maybe the most proud of, we kept all of those people, nobody left that situation, and we finally went forward with a one product strategy. And this just shows in staying in this situation, even if you don't feel comfortable, if you're far out of your comfort zone, but stay there. I think this is also the biggest learning. I think there's lots of people there that might be new leaders. This is a very big learning. Stay in the situation, stay at this border of the confidence that you actually just can keep, where it's not too much that you're overwhelmed, but where you're still out of your comfort zone. This is where the biggest learnings happens.